men and women dedicated to saving the Zakarum faith from the corruption of Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred.
Is the Paladin class forever dead by the events of Diablo 4 and to never return? The Paladin was a major fan favorite from the release of Diablo 2 and even up to today, from awesome builds like the simplistic Thorn Zealadin to the MC of demon-slaying Pain himself, the Hammerdin, and other variants therein. The legacy of the Knight of Zakarum is well ingrained within Diablo's history. Then along comes Diablo 3, and first the monk came in with many similar tones to their abilities of the Paladin. 2 years later, we see the rise of the Crusader, another Knight of the Zakarum that was almost mark for mark the exact same class as the Paladin. Almost. So with this speculation that the Paladin may return in Diablo 4, how likely would this be a reality with the continued use of the monks of Ivgorod and the powerful stoic Crusaders of Arrakis? Here's why we should not expect the Paladins to return in Diablo 4.
Hell is coming.
Armored by faith, driven by duty, bound to kill the enemies of Zakarum.
Who could kill an Order of Light? Or perhaps corrupt it? The simplest answer can be found in the events of Diablo 2 and the lore released alongside the Crusaders in Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. The stage was set in a revelation made in Act 3 of Diablo 2. The hero travels to Kurast, a swampy jungle region of Kyrgyzstan, which once held the capital of Kazan and the Temple of the Triune before Emperor Haakon II moved the capital city to Chaldeum. However, upon arrival, whispers were abound of the corruption of the Church of the Zakarum, the core of the Paladins' ancient order. Even amidst the sordid history of the Zakarum Church, which led to the formation of the Order of Paladins, the depths of depravity to which the Church had fallen had not quite been realized. The Lord of Hatred, Mephisto, had so deeply infected the ranks of the Zakarum, snuffing out all opposition to his reign, that even the past discrepancies of the Church pale in comparison. His machinations were virtually unknown to the public, with the atrocities attributed to the Paladin order within the Zakarum versus the eldest of the prime evils. However, we as the player witnessed this firsthand during Act 3 when we went to the capital of Kurast, where we come up against the legions of Zakarum adherents and even destroy the High Council itself that was twisted by the Lord of Hatred who awaited the fated heroes of Diablo 2 in the depths of his durance of hate as they had slain Mephisto himself. So that's basically the story, right? Mephisto's compelling orbs destroyed, his soulstone was en route to the Hellforge for annihilation. That should have been the end of Mephisto's corruption and that of the Church of the Zakarum, and the Paladins could once again step back into the light. Unfortunately, that's not how the influence of the prime evils works. Fast forward to the events of Diablo 3, and in the short story, The End of Her Journey, we follow the Crusader Anagin as she visits a popular inn by the name of Chaldeum's Rest. And it's here she runs into Paladin adherents of the Hand of Zakarum that frequent the area, and end up confronting 4 of them in a fight to the death. I won't spoil the aftermath of the details beyond that, but what's necessary to take from this is that the reach of Mephisto's influence extends far beyond Travancore in Kurast and continued for over a decade across the splintered sects of the Zakarum faith. Only the most stalwart and zealous of heart would come to withstand such hatred, and that was the Crusaders' order, not the Paladins. Unfortunately, it seems they're really dead. Even if you were to reason that the assimilation into the Knights of Westmarch kept the Order safe from utter dissolution, in the Book of Tyrael we find a chapter towards the back of the book detailing the active and inactive groups in Sanctuary as of Reaper of Souls. Detailed here are the Order of Paladins, and along with the aforementioned assimilation, the book refers to the Paladins as inactive, which falls in line with several other entries marked inactive that were wiped out or faded from existence. However, the fate of the Knights of Westmarch is later seen in the Diablo 3 expansion and are left utterly decimated by Malthael's assault, leaving only a few straggling sentries.
We find more like that!
And the ever-stalwart General Torian, a veteran soldier of Westmarch and right hand to the kings even prior to Justinian's rule.
I have bad news, General. The king is dead.
I'd heard rumors.
This also paints the future of Torian's remaining soldiers into a bleak corner as Justinian is murdered during Malthael's siege by Lord Winton and his personal detail, who is eliminated after we, the Nephilim, find him at the scene.
You betray your king while the people of Westmarch are massacred in the streets. You are not worthy of the throne.
I have spent my whole life preparing for this day, Crusader!
Granted, it could be argued that this still leaves a glimmer of hope for the remaining units of the Knights of Westmarch to re-enter the fray as light-wielding zealots of the Zakarum, under their prior moniker of Paladins, but the argument for the reappearance of the Crusader instead, a redundantly identical class, is actually much stronger. As we mentioned before, Anagin's destruction of members of the Hand of Zakarum alongside the destruction of Westmarch spells out the dissolution of the Paladin Order, not to mention their entry in the Book of Tyrael. With their numbers so dwindled, it's difficult to justify the concept of bringing them back, especially in Diablo 4, which offers such a wide range of character options, giving the idea of a multitude of possible adventurers answering the call to rise up against all threats to Sanctuary. However, the Crusaders of D3 were presented with a set of very interesting points which guarantee their own longevity. Not only have they flexed their authority within the Zakarum faith by showing themselves as the superior military force within the religion, but their numbers more than speak for themselves. With around 300 to 500 active Crusaders across Sanctuary, they more than make up the lack of military might of the Paladins. More so, the Crusaders often engage in the practice of succession. One could easily argue that the previous stated number is nearly double, as each Crusader is expected to take on an apprentice, one who acts as a veritable page, a trainee, and an aide to the Crusader who takes up the name and armor of their master as well as their mission. Even the Crusader of Diablo 3, who doesn't have an apprentice initially, and is even scolded over it by his deceased predecessor, shows promise by stating he will abandon the power of death after Malthael's defeat and continue the crusade.
You have made us all proud, but we wonder, where is your apprentice?
Yes, well, I will get an apprentice. It's just hard. The world keeps plunging into darkness, and I've so little time.
If you fall, the name will fall.
I promise.
I will do it, even if it means going against my entire order. I could use a good friend by my side.
Throughout this video, we've discussed the Order of Paladins and their assimilation into the Knights of Westmarch, the Hand of Zakarum, and their destruction by our third faction, the Crusaders. But one other faction of note stemmed from the Zakarum Order, the Templars. In Diablo 3, we were introduced to Cormac, an adherent of the Templar Order, and his journey towards revelation of the corruption behind it. In Reaper of Souls, we get the opportunity to reconcile these revelations with the organization itself. However, in the aftermath, all hope of Cormac continuing on his own personal crusade is brought to an immediate halt as he outwardly forsakes his vows and takes up cause to travel with Irina, the Enchantress, to convert other Templars away from the Order or eliminate them in the process. This creates a narrative of a dead end for any future appearances of the Templars, and while it can be argued that the shield and spear combination that appears next to the character selection bonfire in Diablo 4 can be symbolic of the Templars just as it can the Amazons, and Blizzard could yet write an excuse to justify their addition, it stands to reason that, like the Paladin, we may have seen the last of them. There is one final possibility. Recently, we discussed the symbolism behind the caduceus in our video revealing the true identity of Magnus, the Pale Man. Now, what we didn't discuss was every appearance of this symbol in Diablo history. With Diablo 2 came the Paladin shield of items, a mid-tier shield that sports the very same symbol. Now, in heraldry, the emblem of caduceus often refers to a messenger, commonly seen in the mythology of Sumerian deity Ningazid, Hermes of the Greek pantheon, or Mercury of the Roman. The long story short is there are 3 different groups that are tied to this symbol. One is the Paladins, obviously, because they're rocking the shield, and it could mean that they were heralding the holy warriors coming and the light. However, as we know, the Pale Man from the Diablo 4 trailer also was rocking the symbol before Blizzard decided to change it, and that the Paladins originally were corrupted by the Lord of Hatred, Mephisto himself. Could the Zakarum have been infected further than we had already previously assumed? All roads seem to point to Mephisto and his corruption, like the warrior in Diablo 1 taking on the Lord of Terror when he shoved his soul stone into his own head to contain the evil. It seems that Mephisto's hate had permeated through the ranks of the Paladins and may have destroyed them forever. But that was written by the team at Blizzard and may also be undone by Blizzard as well. We will only know when Diablo 4 comes out. That's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in more Diablo 4 lore videos, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay up to date with the latest videos. It really helps the channel out. If you're interested in any of the lore books cited, they are linked in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, Traveler.